wake up, babe. Elden Ring DLC just dropped. Oh my gosh, everyone. I'm so excited. The Elden Ring DLC just got announced. It hasn't dropped yet. I'm sorry for the false introduction, but I just need to get this out because I have other lore videos in the works in progress, but I've been too busy with my job, my second job, my personal projects to actually work on it, but I promise it's coming. It's just not an urgent thing. However, with the new DLC drop, I will definitely be putting them on the front burner, if that's a term. So let's look at the picture just to kind of think about what it might mean for that DLC that's coming out soon. Now, if you look at this shot, you will see two very important things. One is the Erd tree, and it seems like there's gold that's cracking from the body. It's very interesting because the Erd tree itself looks kind of like it's shadowed. It looks burnt almost, and it looks like something's kind of growing out of it. And this is why I'm thinking that the person, who's the other important thing, in this photo could be two people. I mean, not at the same time. I mean, the possibility is that it's one character or the other. Now, everyone's very excited for the idea of Miquella DLC, and so am I. I do maybe believe that this is Miquella, but I also have another theory, so I'm going to go into that right now. So the first theory is that it's Miquella, and it's very interesting because if we put Miquella on Torrent, that means Torrent was ridden on by Miquella, and that means that the former owner of Torrent that was mentioned by Ranni would be Miquella. And that'd be really interesting because that means Ranni and Miquella would have worked together or known each other fairly well for Miquella to have entrusted the ring that calls Torrent to Ranni. Another thing is that Torrent's a spirit summon, and, Ranni is very well known for her spirit summon. She's the one who introduces you to spirit summon and the spirit calling bell. And when she actually gives you that bell, she uses sleep. She uses a sleep spell, which is what Saint Trina's known for, so Saint Trina being Miquella's other self. Saint Trina is known for sleep spells, and Ranni actually uses sleep spells on Kalle and his donkey. It's very cute. If you have the chance to investigate Kalle and the donkey when Ranni gives you the bell, please do. The donkey snores. It's very cute. It's very adorable. Go check it out. But that does mean that Miquella seems to have a connection with a lot of his siblings and may have actually had a good relationship or a working relationship with a lot of siblings, which I have actually theorized on the side of Mohg. I did mention how a lot of Miquella's experiments and even things that I didn't mention in the video, which is that both Malenia and Mohg have a blood healing ability, which may have come from Miquella and Mohg working together. But there's also other signs, like Miquella actually has a connection with every one of his siblings, except for Don that I can see. For Ranni, it's this one, if Miquella was the original owner of Torrent, then he entrusted Torrent to Ranni. And also, the sleep spells, even without that information, even if this isn't Miquella, which we'll get into in a bit, the sleep spells still connect them together as Saint Trina and Ranni. And I think it does make sense that Miquella and Ranni would have worked together at some point because they both had some clandestine, beneath the notice of the main Erdtree factions, stuff that they were doing. And then there's another thing where you notice that he might have connections with Rykard because the pulley crossbow, which is associated with Miquella, which I didn't really realize until a viewer showed me, but the pulley crossbow was created by a genius who learned Golden Order fundamentalism, and because Miquella was small, he was probably physically not very strong. Having a pulley crossbow would have been very useful for him as somebody with low strength stats. And you find that pulley crossbow right in Mount Gelmir, which may imply that Miquella spent a bit of time at the Volcano Manor as well. There's also connections between Miquella and the Windmill Village, but I do have to look more deeply into that one. And of course, because Miquella studied Golden Order fundamentalism, he and Morgott would have had a lot in common, although I'm sure Morgott would not have appreciated him leaving Golden Order fundamentalism, but we do know that Morgott knew him as a genius, as a prodigy, and that Miquella had a wonderful relationship with Radagon, and perhaps even Marika, their shared mom. And then, of course, there's Miquella's many connections with Godwyn. It's clear that Miquella wanted to help Godwyn when he died halfway through, he didn't die properly, because Miquella formed the Golden Epitaph, which is a sword that helps those who live in death achieve true death. And it's also implied that Miquella wanted the Castle Sol, the residents of Castle Sol, to use the eclipse to help Godwyn pass on, which is another connection between him and Godwyn. They were clearly very close. There is a statue of Godwyn hugging the twins in the Halig Tree, so we know that they were very close. They loved each other very much. And the only sibling I can think of that doesn't really have a direct connection with Miquella, although somebody may point out to me in the comments if they know something about this, I just don't think that Miquella and Radahn have any very close connections in terms of like working with each other. Now, if I'm wrong, please let me know, but I think it's really interesting that Miquella, being the one that everyone wants to see a DLC of, and of course, like, being the one that we know so little about, yet he has so much influence over Lands Between, it would be great if this DLC was about him. But there is also another possibility, and, this is a little less exciting, but it's still really interesting, because the other person who is barely present, who also has a big influence on the Lands Between, is Marika herself. Now, the reason we assume that Miquella is the one on Torrent's back is because of the hair, and the general, features, because Miquella wore pretty much the same clothes, and he had pretty much the same hair. However, the other person who has extremely similar hair to Miquella, although, not exactly the same, it could have changed over time, is Marika herself. Now, I believe before this DLC drop that Marika was the former owner of Torrent, and the reason for this is because the one who is using Torrent when we first see him is actually Melina, and Melina is confirmed to be Marika's daughter. Now, you may not know this, but it's true. Marika had her at the foot of the Erd Tree, or probably inside the Erd Tree, and she became the Kindling Maiden, and she was given the task to burn herself, and Melina went on a path on her own to decide that she didn't want to burn herself, but on her own terms. So she is Marika's daughter. There are other signs for this as well, like she has her own butterfly, and the butterflies represent Melania and Miquella, but also Melina. So I'm guessing that this could be Marika, and the reason I guess this is because, apart from the fact that, Marika and Miquella look very similar, the Erd Tree itself seems to be in a very different stage than we've seen it before. You can see that the shape is very different from the Erd Tree we know right now, and we can see that the gold is coming out from the sort of burnt husk of the Erd Tree. So my guess for this one is that we might actually go back in time and see how Marika took over the Lands Between in the first place. Because the Erd Tree in Marika's reign is this huge, strong, very big tree. It's not in this shape. It's not, like, burnt up. It's not like this weird, twisting set of branches. It appears to be a very different Erd Tree than the one we're seeing in the image. So my guess is that this is way back. Marika had Torrent. She was the one who, helped unite the Lands Between and form the new world that she had. And this is, like her rise to glory. And that's my guess. So those are the two theories. Like, obviously, I'm a little more biased towards the Miquella theory because I really like Miquella and I want DLC about him. But I do think, because of the shape of the Erd Tree, this could actually be Marika rather than Miquella. And it would still be interesting. And you can see that there are these ghostly shapes that don't look like anything we've really seen in the Lands Between, although I'm sure somebody else could point out if we have. But because the shape is like upside down effigies, in some way, they also kind of look like upside down horseshoes. So that might play into what we're going to see in the DLC. Now, I can't seem to remember which piece of lore this comes from, but please remind me if you remember in the comments. I remember that there's a piece of lore in which they describe how the Erd Tree's bounty used to flow, and they thought it would be endless. I tried to look around for the description that said that the Erd Tree's bounty, they thought it would flow forever, but I did find a lot of reference to the Erd Tree's bounty. There's a bit in the Flask of Wondrous Physic, there's a bit in the Crimson Flask and the Cerulean Flask and all that. So the Erd Tree's bounty being a thing is definitely something that's commonly mentioned. I believe I also found it in the Erd Tree's favor talisman. It even shows Marika holding a bowl and pouring the favor down. And the reason I bring this up is because you can see that in this shadowed Erd Tree, that the gold seems to be dripping down. It's not just cracks, there's actually some favor dripping down from the Erd Tree. That's another reason I think this might be in the past, because I believe there is a piece of lore that says that it stopped dripping, or at least it slowed down. There's something that implies that the bountiful harvest of the Erd Tree kind of slowed down over time, which is why the Golden Order was formed. And anyway, I just wanted to bring up this information. I thought it would be really cool. Happy DLC day, everybody. I'm so sorry I never post lore stuff, even though I'm supposed to be a lore whore, but I am here to give you this and my thoughts, and I hope we all get to enjoy something drop. I hope we all get to enjoy the DLC when it comes out. Much yeah.